Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Greater Good, my podcast here. I want to first thank my sponsors, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, for allowing me to put on this show here in beautiful Coronado at IQ Podcast Studio with producer Sarah. Today, I'm really fortunate to have this incredible woman here on the show, Dr. Maria Sturchler, and she's going to talk about some really cool stuff. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm really well. It's so nice to see you.
It is very nice to see you also.
Thanks so much. So I just recently met Dr. Sturchler through a mutual friend, Dr. Sean Dineshman, who's on my board of directors. And Maria graciously agreed to join the board just the other day.
Such an honor.
I know, we're just really excited. And most importantly, before Maria even joined our board, she was already doing work with our Perkins K-8 school in the Barrio Logan.
Yes.
So what was it that brought you into Perkins K-8 school?
Well, I have to say, Dr. Sean Donishman, he's definitely the one that got me interested. His passion for the project and just happening to hear about it piqued my interest. And as a former educator and as a former beneficiary of schools, public schools, and Title I schools specifically, this project really hit me at my core. And I really wanted to do everything I could to help. So here I am.
That's amazing. So you said something that also piques my interest right now. You said that having come from this position of, struggle basically in your life, and here you are, this amazing woman who's accomplished so much. You're a medical doctor, you're a doctor of education, a mathematician, emergency department physician, a palliative care doctor. I mean, and how old are you? Like 24 years old or something? I mean, right? You've been a busy girl.
I have. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I really do.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you came to be in this amazing position so quickly in life.
My goodness. It's been a long journey, it feels, but I know I'm just at the beginning of it in many respects. Like I mentioned, many, many mentors ago, I felt a calling to be a medical doctor. And I proceeded along that path with my teachers being at the helm of that effort. And of course, I told you the story already that I got into college. I was a first generation high school graduate, first generation college graduate, Pell Grant recipient. And all of the schools I attended up until college were Title I schools. So Perkins is near and dear to my heart for that reason.
Yeah.
And I had an experience that first year of college where I got discouraged by the system and by a professor in particular who said I wasn't good enough. He didn't believe in me. And it just took that one person to knock me down and second guess what I was doing with my life. And so I went to my second love, which was education. Medicine is at the top, but education is right up there. And so I decided I'd be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down that path, and serendipity struck my life, and I became a math teacher by no desire of my own at the time. I really didn't like math very much. I wasn't a fan. So when I became a math teacher, I told my kids that, if I'm here doing this, I know you can do it too.
Right.
And that was really inspiring to them, and their efforts and their successes were inspirations to me. Mm-hmm. And as I did that job, I also was able to complete my master's degree and my doctorate degree, as you mentioned, in education through the generosity of the Bill Gates Millennium Scholar Foundation.
Wow.
And they covered the costs. I did the work, and I came out, a doctor of education. And during that time, serendipity struck my life again, and the universe conspired with me. Mm-hmm. And I happened to read some literature that indicated that a lot of young ladies drop out of STEM careers in their first year of college. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, for those of you that aren't familiar with STEM as an acronym. And I saw myself, Jeff, in that data, in that tidbit that I read. Yeah. And it really hit home for me. And I did some thinking, and I did some talking again to mentors of mine. And they inspired me to go back and try again. And at this point, I'd been teaching math, which was the thing that held me back in the beginning and discouraged me. I'd been teaching math for 8 years at that point, so I was pretty good at it by now.
Yeah.
And I had, some strong accolades behind me to back up my application to medical school.
Right.
And long story short, here I am today before you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So shame on that teacher who tried to discourage you, but maybe not. Maybe we give that person, a pat on the back for creating that oomph in you
Yes.
to go after it. But what an idiot he is. I mean, I looked at your resume, and by the way, it's about 8 pages long, and every single accolade possible in education is on that document, not the least of which is cum laude, cum laude, cum laude, cum laude in every single school or any one of your endeavors. So clearly you're a very brilliant, bright person. But on my drive down here, I was thinking about that, and I said, "Is this the time to have a conversation about nature versus nurture?" And maybe we'll do that another time because it's kind of a different pathway. But I
It
think
is.
at some point, I think it's worth having a conversation, and maybe we'll get some experts here on the show to talk about that because it's a real topic.
I
But
have to
in,
say, there's definitely two forces behind all those accolades. One of them is my mother, who always pushed me to be the best I could and always did believe in me.
yeah,
Had that integral belief that I could do anything I set my mind to, no matter what the
hmm,
obstacles were.
yeah,
And the other one is the saying that I've heard many times in my life that I still struggle to accept, but it goes like this: the harder you work, the luckier you get.
that's one of mine. I use that all the time. I don't think I've used it on the show, but I agree with you 100%. Well, anyway, so we're here today. This is really exciting. Your full transparency here. We want to let our listeners know. And by the way, there are only 50,000 people listening to this show. So,
No pressure.
no no pressure whatsoever. Don't you worry. But you know, you went to Perkins K-8 school. You jumped right in. I mean, it doesn't hurt one single bit that you are a mother. You've come from that environment. You're bilingual. I mean, all the boxes get checked, when it comes to someone that we'd like to have in that program. Maybe you could talk a little bit about teachers' rule at Perkins K-8 school in the Barrio Logan.
Well, I'd love to. I talk to everyone who will listen to me about it. Teachers Rule is an amazing program that's the brainchild of Jeff and Dr. Donishman, who we keep naming, and he's just the heart of everything, that we're
Right.
involved in. But these two gentlemen concocted this wonderful program that I get to be a part of. And it's really focused on targeting these children in a really important and crucial, point in their education and in their life. A time where your body's changing, your brain is changing, you've got a lot to learn, and some expectations are starting to get put on you by society, your family, perhaps your
Right.
peers,
Yeah.
your teachers. And that's when you need belief in you. That's when you need that oomph from whoever can give it to you. And so, what better than to get a group of mentors in to volunteer with children right around sort of the late elementary to early middle school ages, I would say. It's fourth, fifth, and sixth grade.
Right.
Perfect time to get involved with malleable young children and make an impact. And so the focus is basically, sitting with them for 30 minutes at a time to do a little bit of academic work based on reading and focusing on that and getting those skills up to open doors for other things. Having a little snack, which nobody dislikes, and then getting in there and doing some sports after that or activities with art.
Yeah.
And twice a week, we hope that will make this big difference that we anticipate and that we truly expect in these children's lives by connecting them with someone who really cares about them, but also helps them in a tangible way that they can continue to use
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, excellent. Just a little background there. Perkins K-8 school is in the Barrio Logan district here in San Diego. Currently, they have about a 40% homelessness ratio in that school. Prior to the pandemic, their reading comprehension rates were 85, 86%, which is pretty decent. But right now it's hovering, below 40%. So, if you can't read, you can't learn. And
That's right.
so, I mean, there are a lot of things we can do at Perkins K-8 school, but
Absolutely.
with the knowledge and expertise of Dr. Kirchler and Dr. Dineshman and also Dr. Moyo
Yes.
and our other team members, the prevailing knowledge and experts say the best thing we can do is work on reading comprehension. And so we're not there to teach them how to read. We're really, more importantly, there to help them bond with someone and enjoy the concept of reading.
Correct.
Get involved, make the books fun, pick the books that the children are most interested in, that maybe test them just a little bit, to push them just a little bit further. But it needs to be fun.
Yes.
Without that element in most things in life, it becomes drudgery.
Absolutely. And having that volunteer, I think, adds that element of novelty
Right.
and excitement that, oh, there's this new person in my life
Right.
that's taken an interest in me
Yeah.
and wants to help me learn.
Yeah. What did I do to deserve this person coming into my life?
Absolutely.
And if we can switch that, if we can do a 180 on that concept to, I deserve to have this person in my life,
Exactly.
then we have a win.
Yes.
Right.
We start to defeat that imposter syndrome that holds so many young people back.
Oh, it's frightening. On one of my earlier shows, I had two teenagers from Coronado High School here, and we were talking about, their perception of what's going on today in the world, social media, body shaming, imagery,
Yes.
sexual exploitation, all of these things that are occurring in our society, and they're actually becoming normalized, which is frightening for me personally, to think that it's okay to body shame someone. It's okay for someone to go to OnlyFans and expose their body for money when they're a high school student or even younger, and that's okay. That's the norm, and we have to shift that. So the best way, in my opinion, that we shift that is engaging the youth at their level, and by example, showing him that they can be successful.
True.
Because it's there.
It is.
It's inherent in their body, and if we push the right buttons and help them as a guide, not a teacher necessarily, but as a guide to help them maneuver through the issues in their lives, then maybe we'll get somewhere.
I totally agree with you, Jeff. And that saying comes to mind, it takes a village to raise a child. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a role for parents, there's a role for teachers, there's a role for mentors, but there's also a role for friends, and
right.
That's what our volunteers might become on some level: a friend,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a mentor, but just the more positive influences you can have in a child's life, the better off they are and the greater chance they have of succeeding to reach their potential.
You're a mom, right?
Yes, I am.
I met one of your adorable children, Teddy.
My little marshmallow.
I love Teddy. He's my new best buddy.
Oh, he loved you so much. He took right to you.
Yeah, well, I have that dogs and kids,
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign. So in your time when you're not volunteering for us at the foundation, tell us a little bit about what you do at work.
Well, my work is very rewarding. I am now full-time palliative care doctor, and a lot of people don't know what palliative care is. So I get to be a teacher every day because I get to teach people about how exciting my job is.
Mm-hmm.
Palliative care, we do three things. This is kind of the spiel I give everybody when they first meet me because they look at me and don't know what to think. Palliative care does three main things. The first thing we do is we make sure people are really comfortable while they're getting their medical care. So we attack their symptoms: nausea, pain, anxiety, insomnia, things like that.
Right.
If you get those things under control, you can take chemo, you can do much better with whatever treatment you get.
Sure.
So, people that work with us right away tend to do better with whatever they're having dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing we do is we're the communication experts. So we have the bandwidth to help network as physicians on the care team with the other physicians and get everyone on the same page with the patient and their family.
Wonderful.
And the third thing we do is look at the big picture, I call it, is kind of take in all of the data and the situation of the patient's reality and figure out, what do you want to do with that? Because we're all different. We all have different values and experiences.
Right.
And so it's a different answer for all of us. There's no right answers. So that's what I get to do every day. And what that looks like is taking care of very sick people in the hospital who need all those things done, or maybe just one of those things, maybe just support, maybe just communication, maybe just symptoms, maybe the big picture. And I do that all day long. I have a wonderful team. We're actually, our site in Chula Vista is an all-woman team, so it's pretty cool. We're special like that. but it's just like a family. It's a family at work that I have, and we try to help as many people as we can every single day.
You told me that one of the greatest gifts you can give for one of your patients is to be with them at the end. And even if it's just holding their hand and letting them know that someone is there. And you felt like that was an extraordinary thing to be doing with anyone as a human being.
It is. It's a real gift, and it's something I don't do every day because, fortunately, you know, most people get to be where they want to be when they're passing.
Right.
Whether that's home or on a farm or in another state,
Mhm.
whatever it is, we try to get that to happen.
Right.
But occasionally, once in a while, someone will pass away with us in the hospital, and occasionally, I will have the incredible honor of being there at that moment. It doesn't
Mhm.
always happen, but when it does, it really stays with you, Jeff.
Mhm.
It's true. It's a very special gift.
I can imagine. I had like you said, the honor of doing that with my dad. And just a quick little story about, so I was sitting on his bed and he was, he wasn't really much with us at that point, but I knew he could still hear. And my daughter was with me. And so I was telling stories about when I grew up and the things that I did that I didn't believe my parents knew I had done. Like one of them was I used to push the family car out of the driveway when I was 14 years old and go for drives at night. And so I'm telling these stories and my father opens his eyes and he starts smiling and he says, "I knew." And so
Busted.
I was totally busted. So but yeah, you're right. It's a real gift. Prior to being a palliative care physician, you were in the emergency department. And by
I
the way, I was
was.
corrected this very morning that it's no longer called ER. It's called emergency department.
ED.
ED.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
right. So I think, people's perception, we need to get that changed. So I'm on board. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you worked in the emergency department.
I did. I
Yeah.
did. I was very fortunate to do that work too. That is some hard work. People always think it's just like on TV, and there's parts that are, but there's parts, of course, like anything else that aren't.
Right.
And that was wonderful. I have many colleagues that I still keep in touch with regularly from that world, and it's a world I still get to partake in. Just yesterday, I did an ER palliative shift. So I got to be embedded in the ER as their palliative doctor.
Oh,
So it's kind of cool because I get to be both at the same time
yeah.
and, speak the language. I kind of run the same way. I'm a little more energetic and, multitasking kind of person. So
Right,
it's a
right.
great fit for me to be down there once in a while. And I love it. And yeah, that was exciting work too. I worked at several hospitals in the area doing that
Nice.
as a resident physician. So that was a great time in my life.
Was there something that happened to cause you to change the direction of your medical path?
I get that question all the time. It's a really common question because people think palliative care and emergency medicine couldn't be more apart from each other, more different.
Right.
And actually, they're very similar.
Hmm.
I initially, when I wrote my personal statement to apply for emergency medicine residency, I wrote that I wanted to help people on the worst day of their life.
Mm.
That's why I chose to be an ER doctor, an emergency doctor,
Right.
because I wanted to help people when things were happening that required split-second decisions, life or death, procedures, and things like that.
Right.
And so I ended up noticing that the need for the speed in the ED, not only in terms of doing things, but the number of patients you have to see and how quickly you need to see them, that's kind of an integral piece of it that as a student, I didn't consider as much as I should have.
Mm.
And so I really, I used to get in trouble all the time for spending too much time in the patient's rooms.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because
Like,
people still remember that about me. Yeah, they're like,
we got
Maria,
places to go here."
let's go. You need to move. That's when I found my calling. It was, sitting with someone who was very, very ill. And so now as a palliative physician,
Mhm.
I only get consulted on people who really are very, very gravely ill.
Mhm.
Maybe at the beginning of that illness,
Mhm.
maybe they've just been diagnosed with metastatic cancer or some sort of other life-limiting illness,
Mhm.
maybe at the end of their life when they
Mhm.
need help and they're in distress.
Yeah.
But somewhere in that continuum, I'm involved. And so every single life I touch is someone truly having the worst experience in their life. And so is their family. And I get to help. I get to do something really tangible with them, and I get to see it through
Yeah.
one way or the other. Sometimes they graduate from us, sometimes they don't. and we help transition them to the other side.
Yeah.
And all of it is just really exciting, rewarding work. It's really a calling. So I really am fulfilling my calling now. I found my special niche in medicine.
Yeah.
And it's a treasure to me.
How wonderful. Unfortunately, there are a lot of physicians that are leaving the practice altogether, perhaps more so than any time in recent history. And, there are many reasons why that's occurring, and we don't really need to get into that. But one thing is certain is that most people that I know that are physicians, they chose it as a calling.
Yes.
They were very passionate. There was a long, arduous path to get to that point where they could put that MD next to their name and actually start helping people. So, it's kind of a quandary. It must be a very, very challenging time for those people that are transitioning out of medicine into completely different careers altogether.
It is, Jeff. And that's another, one of my little passion projects on the side is trying to figure that out, trying to make that better. Not only for our physicians, my fellow physicians, but also for our patients, our communities. If we lose our doctors, we lose a huge resource, a very crucial resource for the health of everyone. So yeah, it's something we need to work on overall in many different areas.
Well, it's not just physicians, it's nurses, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, technicians, firefighters, police officers,
you name it,
teachers.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. The at Perkins KA school, I want to kind of shift back to one of my passions, and now I'm sharing it with you, is you and I had the privilege of standing before all the teachers before the school year started.
We did.
And we gave them our, 5-minute pitch talk about all the wonderful things we hope to accomplish. And I looked around that room and I thought, these are heroes.
They are.
I think you said it. It's probably one of the most difficult jobs in the world.
Absolutely right.
And you've lived in it. You did it yourself for, a number of years. But that was before the pandemic. And then you throw this pandemic, into the fire. And I
can't even imagine.
I'll say it out loud. I mean, if you see or you meet a teacher, just much like you would say to a service member or a police officer, thank you for your service, and mean it, because they are the ones that are going to be molding your children into hopefully, productive citizens.
Absolutely.
I was surprised. Last year was the first time that Perkins K-8 school had the pre-K classroom, the 4-year-olds coming to school.
Exciting.
I think they call it universal transition grade. Yeah. UTG.
Transitional kindergarten.
Universal transition grade. And so that, you have kindergarten, which is, the 5-year-olds traditionally. And now you have 4-year-olds that are scampering around campus. Well, I mean, they're safe, of course. And now I just read that that's going to become universal throughout the state of California.
Yes.
Yeah.
So exciting. Such a great step forward for us.
It really is, because if you look at society, and this is another show altogether as well. If you look,
are you writing these down, Jeff?
I am, and I have Sarah, producer Sarah. Without producer Sarah, nothing would happen. So you have these 4-year-old children who are coming to school now, and they're emotionally, are they ready for school? Probably not. So I remember Principal Hernandez at Perkins K-8 school. He called me up on the first day of school, when this was last year, the first time they had these pre-K students, these 4-year-olds coming, and he had, I think, 12 students, and I could be wrong about the number, but it wasn't a large group. And he had 2 teachers for those 12 students. And he said, Jeff, I need to make a 911 call to all of my teachers. I don't care what you're doing. Get out of your classroom and get down here to the pre-K classroom, because we have 12 bawling, crying their eyes out little 4-year-olds who were
everyone needed a hug.
They were, exactly. And so they managed to get through
emergency hug time.
Exactly. 911.
We all need one sometimes.
We do. Yeah, exactly.
Poor
Anyway,
little guys.
so if you look at the social aspects of that, the reason that that grade level has been created, in my opinion, that's just my personal thoughts, is that uh, you either have both parents working and they have to get up and go out early, or you have a single parent environment. And at Perkins K-8 school, that's more often the case.
Yep.
And so these children don't have the resources in their lives to be mentored, to be taught, to socialize them, to be ready to normally acclimate into kindergarten
That's
when they're
right.
5 years old.
It's a big jump
It's
from
a,
being home all day doing nothing and suddenly
yeah,
being sat down in front of a stack of books and
right.
activities.
So that's kind of the negative element, but then the real positive element is that, okay, well, good. Now we're doing something about it.
Yes.
So these children, they're not going to fall behind before they get there.
That's right.
So
Exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to see it go down to 3-year-olds, but it'll be a few years yet.
Well, there's all it takes is the will of the people. I mean, it's not going to happen if the politicians get involved, because then it'll just get complicated as opposed to complex. I like complexity. I don't like complications. It's another argument. What does complex mean versus complicated? I'll tell you. Complex is something that's easily solvable. You just figure out what the formula is. But complicated means that there are a lot of elements in there that
layers
might make it difficult to get to the right solution. But anyway, so Perkins K-8 school, it's a wonderful environment. Another reason why I'm excited personally to have us restart our Teachers Rule program is that prior to the pandemic, if you went on campus, there is not a child there that would not recognize you, say, hello, Mr. Wohler. Hi, sir. How are you? The little ones would come up and, give you a hug you on your leg, whatever it is, want to be picked up. The high five with the middle schooler. I mean, these children were very much in their space in that time, and there was confidence.
Yes.
After the pandemic, and we're talking now, so you and I and all of our we need to be prepared for that, because there's been a real shift. Mm-hmm. There's an attitude now. There's a little bit more of, what are you talking about? Or I'm not going to do that, or I don't trust you.
Yeah, we all went into our little shell for a while and lost that engagement with the human touch, with the human spirit that we all share in a room. It's so different being here with you than talking to you on the phone, right? I mean, it's just a totally different experience, and I can't imagine what the kids and teachers went through those 2 years. Well, similarly, a lot of us, we could see our families. We couldn't gather together for celebrations and holidays and things like that. So I can't even imagine on a daily basis when you lose that as a child. It's certainly concerning, and I'm so glad we're back.
Yeah, me too. So maybe producer Sarah, could you put up the little notice that we have? So we're launching our program on September 26th at 3:30
p.m.
You got it. It's going to be a party. And we were doing an outreach here for volunteers.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So if you look at that little placard we put up there, and there's a QR code down below. So we're looking for volunteers.
It's not hard.
It's
not complicated.
It's not complicated.
All you have to do is show up for an hour, 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's twice a week. And I don't think you have to commit to twice a week. Do you, Jeff?
No, you can.
Just come once a week.
Once a week is great. We'd love to have you. I can't think of something that's more rewarding than to spend a little time with these wonderful kiddos who are so much in need of a connection, a bond with another adult, another human being who just cares about them.
Yep.
We don't care, what else is going on in your life. We're going to just be there to support you however way we can. And there will be snacks. And there will be snacks. And, people always ask me, oh yeah, Maria, there's all these problems. What can we do about it? Here's something that you can do. This is a really tangible thing. You just commit to once a week, just for the school year. It's not even for the full year, or maybe if you can only do 6 months, you say, okay, I'll do half the school year. Sure. Whatever it is. But we just want some consistent volunteers who are really passionate about making a difference in someone's life. And
some people get discouraged. They say, "Yeah, I'm not going to make that big of a difference. I'm only going to help one kid or two kids, maybe three." But the seashell, not the seashell, the starfish story.
Yeah.
That's something I always tell people because I don't know if you know it, Jeff, but
Tell it.
well, people, there was somebody, I guess, walking on the seashore and trying to pick up the starfish that got stranded and were drying up in the sun, and somebody said, why are you doing that for? You're not going to save them all. And that person answered, well, to this one, it makes a difference. And in it went.
Exactly.
So that's how you have to think about these things, is you can't let yourself get overwhelmed about how big the problem is or how pervasive, it is. It's just focusing on what we can do, and we can give these kids 30 good minutes of reading and 30 minutes of some sort of activity that's fun after that. And reading can be fun too, and the enrichment. So
yeah,
just come on out and join us for an hour and 15 minutes. And
yeah, we'd love to have you. You can go to our website, which is sdharborpolicefoundation.org. There's a volunteering tag up at the top right-hand corner. You can click on that tag and register. You can put your QR code. You can put your phone up and capture the QR code. It'll take you right to that same website. And we'll reach out to you immediately, and we'll be ever so grateful. I want to just thank you so much for coming and spending time with me today. It's such a pleasure.
Such an honor, Jeff, to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. And for my listeners, I've got Dr. Kathleen Kiernan coming up here in a couple of weeks, and she's going to talk about human trafficking. And she's another amazing woman. I love to be surrounded by amazing women, and I am. And I'm just so fortunate in my life to have people like Sarah, producer Sarah, and you, Maria, and
thank you for lifting us up.
Sandy Mole, and so many other important people in my life that are women. We need more women in charge. That's for sure. You let a bunch of men do stuff, and it's going to get screwed up for sure.
It's a teamwork process, right? We need some of both.
We need to be educated. Anyway, thank you all. My listeners, thank again to the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation for supporting and funding this program. And I look forward to seeing you all in the very near future.